Hi friends, all the way from Jerusalem. You know, the dreams that we have in our lives of what we can see and what's possible, very often we feel limited by the lack of the ability to speak up and to say what we actually need. Last week we spoke about reaching out, and in many ways this week we're speaking about the inner integrity of our language and of our speech. We see that speech is somewhat first corrupted by the snake already in the garden, using words to convince, using words to be deceitful. The snake has some element of being able to know what to say and how to say it. But sometimes having the right words is not exactly what we need. Sometimes knowing what another person is thinking is not the element that we're looking for. This idea that when Jacob goes before his father Isaac, and Isaac says that you have the hands of Esav but the voice of Jacob. Hakol kol Yaakov yadayim yadei Esav. It's this idea that somehow there's words that we utilize within the Jewish community. We know that ultimately the Jewish people of words, people of books. But again, how we use our words. See in this week's Torah portion that there was a prophet, a non-Jewish prophet named Bilam. He was given the power of speech. Only his intentions were not in the right place. When utilizing his powerful gift of words, originally his intention was to curse the Jewish nation. And yet God, as we read on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, gives us our speech. Right? Ma'aneh lashon, to have that clarity of speech. And Bilam's speech was taken, and his curses were turned into blessings. And one line he says to the kings of the world, but really to the king Balak of Midian, Ki lo nachash b'Yaakov v'lo kesem b'Yisrael. Right? You can't, there's no deceit, there's no witchcraft, there's no words of divination in Yaakov. There's no ability to bring this magic, because ultimately the power of speech that the Jewish people bring in, as it says in the Talmud and Masechet Nedarim, right? It says that when coming before when coming before the Jewish people, seeing this element of Jacob, seeing exactly what the Jewish people have been attempting to hold up for thousands of years. Kol she'adam she'eno menachesh, that we use our words for the right reasons, not to deceive others, not to create divination, as the word menachesh could mean. Machnisin oto b'mechitza she'afilu malachei asharet einu cholim lechanes letocha. That when we use our words for the right reasons, we could find worlds, we could create worlds that people never even thought possible. And so sometimes we feel like we need to be fancy with our words. Sometimes we feel like we need to be pinpointed and accurate and prepared and planned. But ultimately, what we're hearing now from the Talmud and what we're seeing as one of the blessings of the Jewish people is that we don't bend and become apologetic to find out what others want from us. We seek out to be truthful with our words. We seek out to bring joy into our lives. We seek out to be people who are thoughtful with what we say, not because of what someone will respond to with us, but because of what's ultimately going to be what feels right and truthful to us in our heart. And so there's no collective us on some level. Each of us are individuals. But really this lesson for the macrocosm of the Jewish people is true in our own individual lives. And I'll end with this idea about speech. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, he says that there are three forms of speech. He says one is just calling out, not knowing who will come to you. It's a form of amira. One is calling out, but recognizing that what you're saying will stick to the other person. That's dibur. And finally, the final one, coming from the language of Passover, of the Haggadah, is lahagid, to speak. Gid meaning connection, like a sinew, like the gid hanasha, that through my speech I'm saying and you're completing my sentences. I have this ability to connect far beyond what I ever thought possible. And so, the Torah portion themed with speech, recognizing that we could oppress people with our speech, recognizing that we can do things and say things for the sake of speech. Let us have a Shabbat a week ahead of recognizing that even behind me, the miracles of me being able to share Torah, to speak, came about through people who spoke from their heart, people who meant what they said. I'm standing here, you're listening. It's because of people before us who spoke and spoke truthfully. So finding our truth, it's a challenge of life. But if you could engage in that journey of finding your truth, we can see a world of dreams becoming a reality. And so, with that, let us be the weekly mission. This week I will try to find out my inner voice and to speak my truth, to acknowledge the hardship and the struggle of maintaining that truthful voice and realizing that you have the possibility to do so. Shabbat Shalom.